Okay, you are watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media on all of our channels and networks. I am Mike Morales here in Southern California. That gentleman out there is
Eric Zandona in Vancouver, Washington.
Eric and I have the distinct pleasure, and this is I love to throw Eric the kitchen sink, and in this case we have to thank Henry Priest for throwing the sink at him. And Henry Priest Imports made this possible. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to taste and dissect Coyote, Sotol, and this is con Vibora. Now, if you've never heard this term before, Vibora means snake. This is the infamous or famous, depending on where you're coming from, the infamous or famous Sotol that you usually see on the bar, maybe in movies, and there's a rattlesnake in it, or maybe even in China. China does a lot of this stuff where they infuse snake. And this is, I have only seen pictures, okay? And as you can see, there's no snake in here, because the FDA would probably have a real stink about that. Do you know, Eric, that the scorpion, mezcal, those little scorpions are FDA approved? Did you know that? Yeah, that's the only reason. That's the only reason they can put it in their bottles, is because they have to have those approved by the FDA. And then I guess for those of you who have seen Scorpion, like on tour when we could do tours, they'll have a scorpion eating contest. If you eat the scorpion, they'll give you like a T-shirt and a hat, and they have these little tiny baby scorpions. Anyway, long story short, this has no snake, but it's con Vibora, okay? And first of all, I want to thank Henry Priest, because I know that they moved heaven and earth to get this into the U.S. And then there's no information. There's very little. This is a Clan Coyote. You may have seen Coyote, Sotol, and mezcals in El Paso, in Ciudad Juarez, probably parts of Texas as well, maybe Arizona. But Eric did some footwork right before we came on camera. And before you give any information, let's just pour it and taste it, okay? Because on camera, we were talking and discussing, and there's like floaties in here.
Yeah. I think I can see it in yours. It's hard to see on my camera, maybe, but there are little specks because that's from the snake.
Yep. This is literally snake oil, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So here we go. Now I had to pull this out of my my treasure trove. This is I'm going to use a Glencairn Canadian blended whiskey glass that I normally use for mezcal when I run out of the jarritos, and you're going to use that handy dandy Glencairn. And we just broke the seal off of this baby. Oh my God! Aren't you afraid?
I'm diving in.
He's got no fear. Eric has no fear. Oh my God. Okay, well, here we go. The reason I use this one is because I discovered that for mezcal, I really enjoy it because I don't need a whole lot to get, some aroma and flavor notes out of it. I think this particular bottling is what we're going to see in the United States, Eric.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, for agave spirits, and I know Sotol's not technically agave, but it's in that sort of family of tradition and Mexican spirits. But there is a real trend towards 200 ml format bottles, which I think generally is a great sort of movement, because sometimes a 750 of this could be really expensive. Yeah. And so having the smaller format allows people to try more things and to see what they like. And if you put out less than $40 on a small bottle, like, well, per mil it might sound expensive, but it's a good way to get a hold of these like really rare spirits. So.
Oh yeah. Well, now that the TTB has allowed this kind of a bottling as well, that happened in April of last year, 2020. Yeah. The TTB updated their bottling and their labeling for specifically for agave spirits.
Yeah.
But anyway, this one here, when we say con Vibora, it actually does exist, folks. It's not just a prop in a movie or on a bar. They're actually the legend is that if it's infused with rattlesnake or whatever snake they're using, um, some legends will even tell you that it is a cure for cancer. Now I don't know if that's the truth or not, but uh, anyway, what are you getting? I want to know what you're smelling, what you're getting.
So there it's I would say it's more it has the sort of aroma of a classic Sotol, but
Right.
it's a little bit milder, less I would not milder, less intense. So like a while back we tasted the palmilla from
Yeah.
Mazuke.
Yeah.
Very intense, like really in your face, aggressive, like vegetal aroma. That's here, but in it's just a little bit more tamed down. And that might be due to the fact, so as you've noticed, there's some color here. And the color is not just from the snake, it's from the fact that it spent 2 months in a barrel. So I think that's part of what's going on. The aroma, I think, is really lovely, though.
Yeah, it's not off-putting at all. I
No.
mean, no, not at all. I will tell you that if you get one of those small bottles and you see some floaties, it's not impurities. That
Yeah.
literally has to be the snake skin. I mean, it's just going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the palmilla.
Yeah.
And we'll give you more of the ins and outs as to where it's coming from, who's involved, and wow, this is really, you're right. It's very much, I think it's the edges have been rounded off because of the barreling.
Yeah.
And how old, what did you say how old were those barrels? Third use?
Yeah, so the note that I found was that they're putting this into third use barrels. So they've held a couple of, probably other Sotols. Maybe they were originally used as American whiskey barrels, but we don't really know exactly. But they third use barrels, so shouldn't be much impact. I just get a tiny like note of like wood character. Um, but that I think kind of it mixes well with the greenness that you get from Sotol in general. There's also I would say a familiar aroma of slightly ashy from the cooking process.
But there's no
Um,
smoke. You see, that's just it. I don't detect any smoke at all. Although we know a little bit about their process. Eric was actually able to unmask and
yeah,
uncover some of that because there was no information for us on the priest website, and
yeah.
I think Eric had to go into a Spanish website to get some kind of information on it. But
Yeah, and on they mentioned that it was cooked with mesquite wood. The Sotol was the plant, and to me, there's like a right down in the like center. There's this light sweet aroma that reminds me of like pipe tobacco.
oh,
Um,
okay,
so it's
okay.
like a little bit smoky, a little tobacco-y, but a little bit sweet at the same time. So, but really nice.
Yeah, and there's no alcohol either. I can't even. What's the ABV on this? I guess we
It's
should tell people.
45%.
45%. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Now, what I will tell you is, Sotol, I have a real soft spot in my heart for, and it turns out now that we've had several Sotols with different plants, that this Leophyllum, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. My biology escapes me, or my botany. Anyway, they do smell a little bit different than from the Daslerian Wheelery. This one's
Yeah.
got a gamier. It really, you're right. It reminds me of the Palmilla, but
Yeah.
kind of toned down. So,
Yeah.
well, you want to dive in? You're gonna be the
Yeah.
first to dive in. Here we
I'm
go.
excited.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm. Mmm.
Oh wow,
Mmm.
that is like silky smooth.
Yeah.
It's
It kind of snakes down your throat, huh? I'm sorry. I'm going to do this. I'll probably get through the whole thing. See, you think that this is going to have fangs, but it doesn't. There's no bite.
no.
This is just beautiful. It is, and
Yeah.
what a finish. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
There's a little bit of a there's definitely some alcohol in the finish, but it's soft and it comes across a little bit like a menthol. So it's like this kind of bright, freshness that it's not hot in any way, but it's really really
You
nice.
think you think that mentholy came from the wood, from the barrel?
I think my guess is it's a combination of the sort of vegetal character of the Sotol, the alcohol, and the like softness that it got from the wood. That's
Okay.
my guess. This is like all of those things kind of working together.
This is really good. I thought for sure this was going to be gamier because the Palmilla, as we said, was very aggressive, and it
Yeah,
was. I think the Palmilla was at this ABV or a little bit higher, maybe.
yeah.
Um, and it had more of the wood and grassy, kind of like an older character, more robust character. This
I
one
mean,
is
one way to think about this is not quite the same thing. Is not too dissimilar to a pechuga, right? And
right.
it's not distilled in the same way, and so it's not one to one. But that being said, snake is not it's not a fatty meat, right? It's very lean. So my guess is that it would probably have a fairly mild impact,
Hmm.
and maybe that has contributed that exposure to the snake. It's possible that that has also helped smooth out the palate,
Oh yeah,
soften things.
yeah. The technicality that we have on the label,
Yeah,
it's I should explain this. They're calling it an avocado, so
yeah,
they're borrowing the benefit from the wording in tequila because that's what all these other agave spirits are doing. They're just borrowing benefits to explain their process. So they're calling this an avocado, and the whole name is Sotol Coyote Triunfo del Desierto. It is artisanal, and where did I see that it's got that they're calling it an avocado? There
on
it
the
is
back label. Yeah,
on the back label. Avocado of Viper. So an avocado in tequila means that it's been a joven avocado is an old term. It just means that it's been um, the additives. Okay, that there are additives to it. Usually, it's like wood staves or something. And they did that in the old days. Really, at the beginning of the trajectory of tequila, but they don't do that. I mean, whether it
yeah.
happens or not now, it could be.
So
But
that term is in the technical file for mezcal, and what they're really referring to there is sort of like I guess what we would call maceration, where they're like using the mezcal to extract flavors from fruits or other plants or other things. So it's like a sort of like flavored spirit, but it's flavored through adding stuff into the spirit,
right,
let it
right.
sit, and then
And,
filter out
and
the stuff.
and we call those infusions, correct?
Right. Yeah.
So our term in English would be infused. So again, technically, this is infused with
Yeah.
with a snake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not necessarily the viper. When in Spanish, the word vibora just means generally any snake.
Yeah.
And out in the desert, that's rattlesnake, diamondback. Looks like diamondback to me. Tastes like chicken. Uh, you know, uh, so it's not like it's distilled with the snake hanging, with the snake
Right.
meat hanging above the still. It's not. That's not what it is. This again is the snake. Um, I like it. The Palmilla to me was pretty gamey. Very very robust and very
Yeah.
very earthy. This one is just it's really refined. I'm
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. To me, this is kind of a actually I think it's sort of an in-between point, I would say, between the Palmilla, which I would say is on the very far end of intensity,
Hmm.
and then like the one we did not too long ago was the
That was a Santa Cuviso, wasn't
yeah,
it?
the Santo Cuviso Sotol, which was very refined, very,
Yes.
very, I would say, refined in
It was
much
a
more.
was it a different plant? It was cedrosidum, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So I think, so I think what this is showing is right. Hand of the maker matters. Where the plants are coming from matters, and but then also like the fact that it's been soaked with rattle, whether it's some sort of snake meat plus barrel, right? That's all going to play into it. Just in the same way, right? Not all mezcal is smoky. Not all Sotol is going to be
Yeah.
super intense, but this is really nice, really, really nice.
Yeah, this is very elegant. I like this. Now, is this again? Can we pair this with a cigar, or is this like an after dinner? I don't think I can. We even like pair this with food? Would this be like a? I mean, thinking wider now because we asked the same questions with mezcal and
Yeah, yeah.
tequila. Um, what do we do with this? I mean,
Yeah,
I
it's a
could
good
see
question.
smoking a cigar.
Yeah, I would say like a light, like a Connecticut mild, something like that with this. Nothing too intense to overpower the spirit. I would say too, like I could see this working nicely as like an after dinner drink with like some bits of dark chocolate. I think that would pair nicely together. The sort of dryness of the dark chocolate, I think, would work really well with the kind of vegetal character that's in the mezcal or in the sotol rather. Sorry. Um, so yeah, there's lots of things. I mean, I don't really know what the price point is on this. As I said, I mentioned earlier when I looked at it on I found it on a Mexican retail site, and it was roughly $38 for a 750. But I highly doubt that's what it's going to be when it
No.
comes across the border with all the shipping and the duties and everything else. It's probably going to be quite expensive. Um, so to me, this is like given that I would probably save it for, you know, yeah, like that after dinner or kind of relaxing, with cigars or whatever, time. Um, but really lovely, really, really.
Yes, I'm very impressed because I didn't know we just broke the seal. I just
Yeah,
broke the seal on mine before we came on,
yeah,
and it's got some beautiful legs and tears to it. It's actually it's got some good structure to it. It's
yeah,
the less I have in my glass, the more I see, and yeah, I like this a lot, man. This is
yeah,
I didn't know what to expect. Again, some of the stuff that we're getting now at Tequila Aficionado, we're just that's why I love throwing Eric the kitchen sink because he can just dissect stuff that some of us don't have a bar for.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, this is a let's just give you the ins and outs really quickly before we sign off here. But the Coyote line is brought to you by Gerardo Ruelas. You may have heard that name before for those of you who are into Sotol, and you may have seen his bottles of Coyote, and they're different. They're from different states.
yeah,
The labels are different colors, and the coyotes are also depicted differently. This one, as you can see there, the coyote is fighting off that's it's the snake and the roadrunner or something. A snake and the coyote. Um, but that's wow. And then and on my palate, this is you get. I still have that vegetal. It sticks to you. It
yeah.
I don't know if that's due to the snake. I have no clue. It was really funny. I had seen a description once depicting a tequila. Some photographer had taken pictures for a tequila, and we made he had heard that we had tasted this tequila, I guess, and we were looking for bubbles. Not a whole lot of bubbles on this one, but it's a small bottle too.
Yeah.
But he said, when he described his picture taking, he said these are floating flakes of agave. I know. I felt so bad for that poor guy. But I don't know if you can see that, but there are some really they're floaties, and it's not an impurity.
Well, that with the bubble thing, because there's suspended material in here, that's going to inhibit bubbles from forming. So it's not quite the same thing as as you would people will look for the perlas in mezcal or for other spirits. So that's one.
Should we should just nominate this one as a brand of promise? It's lovely. It really is. It is a surprise. I didn't know what to expect, but I love it. I think Eric hit it right on the head. After dinner, it's a small bottle, maybe between you and a good friend, and a couple of cigars. I don't think that I would do a food pairing with it, because I think they're only going to come in this size. And like I say, Henry Priest must have moved heaven and earth to get that one into the U.S. at that size. Yeah. So look for it. I'm not sure if it's on the market yet or not. I know that we were like the first ones.
I think it's might be available with Old Town Tequila in Southern California. I think it's available through them right now. So
good.
Probably going to start in California, given that that's where it's imported into, and then move out from there.
Yeah. If I were them or a thinking person, I'd probably go to, like I said, Arizona, wherever Coyote is at this point. I would just place it there. And our taster Jason would go bananas in Arizona with this stuff. He'd come up with some kind of cocktail, and put a snake bite on it or something. I don't know. We can't use snake bite because there is a snake bite tequila cocktail. But anyway, that's our take on Coyote con Vibora with the snake. And yes, like I said, this is a rarity. It's another one of those rare gems we've been very blessed to get from all over Mexico and our friends who have been sending these to us. Thank you again to Priest Imports for making that happen. Really appreciate that. This is another treat. Wow. And if you haven't seen the other Sotols that Eric and I have done, check back on our YouTube channel, also on the website. Just punch in Sotol on the search bar. They'll all come up, and then you can see what it is that Eric and I were discussing, how we broke down those Sotols versus this one, and look for Palmilla also. I think that was a very interesting entry. It's actually a Sotol outside of the denomination of origin of Sotol, but still ancestral and authentic as well. So had a great time. Eric, thank you so much again for joining us here.
Yeah.
That's our take on Coyote con Vibora. I'm Mike Morales here in Southern California. That gentleman out there is
Eric Zandona in Vancouver, Washington.
You have been watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media on all of our platforms. Subscribe wherever you're downloading your podcasts. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a like, hit the notification bell, subscribe, and whatever you do, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely.